Good afternoon and welcome to FLW TV's midweek preview show. My name is George Harbey, your host for today. I'm joined by a very happy Preston North End fan, Ben Wignall. Ben, how are you doing?
Yeah, very well. Still, my voice is recovering from last night in that 95th minute goal. Even though I watched it from home, still very exciting stuff. And put your and Billy's predictions to shame. Really, predicting us both to lose.
Yeah, never back against Emil Rees, and also got a debutant today, Marcus Ali. Marcus, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, very well, thanks. Thanks for having me on. Looking forward to talking about the crunch game tonight, which I know that you're in a little rush to get to later on today.
Yes, you're not wrong. 6 championship games to have a look at. We're all going to go through and preview them. I'll give our prediction, see if we get any right or not. But yeah, make sure you subscribe to FLW TV on YouTube. If there's any fans of the clubs you're playing tonight want to drop us a comment and rip into us for our prediction or agree with us, please do. And also, make sure you give us a follow on Twitter as well. So, without further ado, let's get into the first game of the show. Yes, the crunch game that Marcus was on about is Nottingham Forest against Middlesbrough. I'm going in about an hour and a half to the City Ground in a massive game for Chris Hughton and for Forest. 1 point from 6 games for Forest, 5 defeats from 6, and Sunday's defeat has put Chris Hughton under huge amounts of pressure. Coming to you first, Ben. Simply, for you, is it a must-win game for Chris Hughton tonight?
I think it is, yeah. Going into half-time against Cardiff, I think there would have been optimism that they could, hold out for that win and see it out, but it wasn't to be the case. I think Hughton needs to find his best system quick. Obviously, he's well known for playing a 4-2-3-1 with Forest, and he went with Graben and Taylor up front, didn't he, on Sunday? And he needs to decide he's going to stick with that. I think they're very similar players, really. They both want to be in and around the box. And they've definitely got goals in them at this level. No, Graben scored on Sunday, but the 4-2-3-1's not really got results. The 4-4-2's John has been given it one chance. So I think he's got some big decisions to make ahead of tonight. And if it doesn't pay off and Middlesbrough do win, I can see a big decision being made. And it is very early in the season, but the results just haven't been good enough. And another loss, I think, would probably seal his fate tonight.
Yeah, Marcus, do you agree with Ben there? Do you reckon even if a draw, do you reckon that would be enough to save his job at all? Or has it got to be a must-win game?
I'm kind of trying to suss out what the Nottingham Forest board's tactics is here, because to be honest, I thought a draw against Derby before the international break was a poor result, even though it was an equaliser. The sort of good feeling about with Brennan Johnson, a boyhood player, sort of getting the equaliser. I thought that was it for Hughton, because, I mean, if you look at Derby on paper compared to a team like Middlesbrough tonight, I think even though Derby are higher than them in the league, I think we both probably say we expect Borough to go on to finish higher than Derby. So I'd see a draw tonight as a better result than it was at Derby, despite sort of avoiding the maybe little embarrassing defeat at Pride Park. But obviously, the losing the way that they did to Cardiff does kind of cause that negative momentum a little bit more after having sort of a week to dwell on the situation with Hughton. So I find it a bit hard to see him getting sacked after a draw, considering that he wasn't after Derby, but it does feel like it. The board are desperate for him to get a win. He's desperate to get a win, and if he doesn't, I wouldn't be surprised at all to see it be his last game in the dugout.
Yeah, and it's not been all plain sailing for Borough either. 1 win from their first 6 games, Ben. Are you surprised by their start? And they need to start picking up soon, don't they?
I'm a little surprised by it. Yeah, I think the transfer business they did on the whole was pretty solid. I think the pickups of Sporar and Saliki, who've had experience in European competitions for other clubs, are quite smart signings, but they need to obviously hit the ground running when they get the chance. And I think the most exciting one that Borough fans were looking forward to is Piero from Argentina, but I think there's a lot of frustration building up that he's not being given his chance yet. I don't know if Warnock just thinks he needs a lot more time to settle. Obviously, coming from South America, sometimes they need time to bed in. I would have expected him to go to Coventry and get a result on Saturday, and they kind of tamely faded away and lost 2-0. So I think after that game, Warnock was getting a lot of criticism for his tactics, and it was like the same old football wasn't very exciting and whatnot. But if they don't win tonight, I could probably see them struggling a little bit. They've got really good players on paper, but it just doesn't seem to be clicking right now. And yeah, if they lose tonight, I think it could be a bit of a struggle compared to what people thought they were going to be in a playoff race. And it's still early days, but yeah, it's not looking good for them so far.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Marcus, do you agree with that sentiment? And also, your prediction for tonight? What you going with?
Well, I think that Paddy McNair is quite a big loss for Middlesbrough. Defensively, they haven't been as solid so far this season as maybe what we expected. Couldn't even sort of shut up shop when they were playing against a 10-man QPR in one of their home games that they went on to lose early on in the season. As for a prediction, I think Forest have got a good chance. You look across the side, they might be lacking confidence, but I think if they can get them going, if somehow they can get the crowd on their side, which might be easier said than done, and I think they can do well here, but I think Borough will probably peg them back. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw, which kind of leaves Chris Hughton's future up in the air.
Yeah, I was going to go for 1-1 draw as well, so I'm not copying you. I'm just sitting on the fence. Ben, are you going to sit on the fence as well, or are you going to go with a win for either side?
No, I'm going to predict Forest to get the first win. I think something might just click tonight. Maybe a late winner. Now, I've not been impressed with either side this season, but I think it could just be a little skin saver for Houghton, and someone might pick up from late on and win 2-1.
Very interesting. Well, I'll be there in an hour, or even an hour and a half, so we'll see what happens there. Let's go on to our next game of the evening. Birmingham City take on Fulham at St Andrews tonight. Should be a really good game in the West Midlands. Obviously, Birmingham had a strong start to the season. That's also prompted our first comment of the evening from Dan Robbins on YouTube. Afternoon, George, Marcus and Ben. Do we think Birmingham are genuine playoff contenders? Marcus, what would you like to say to Dan there?
Sadly, I think it's a little bit too good to be true. At the start of this season, I think Troy Deeney is an excellent signing. You've got Chong as well. Their transfer business has been really good, but I am a little bit concerned about the depth. When you're going from a Saturday to a Tuesday, just how that rotation works in their favour. And obviously, it's a really tough game going into tonight. They've been quite strong defensively so far this season as well, which has been really impressive. But I think over time, they might come up against some too good attacking contingents. They've got the aging centre-back pairing of Harley Dean and Mark Roberts at the moment. I think they're both in their 30s. I'm not sure that's going to stand the test of time as the season progresses. It's a really good start and nice to see after a few seasons of troubles at Birmingham, but sadly, I don't see them kicking on to finish in the playoffs.
Okay, and obviously last time out they picked up that good win over Derby, Ben. Troy Deeney made his homecoming that night, albeit from the bench, coming as a substitute at St Andrews. Would you be starting him tonight to rotate things, freshen things up a bit, or would you stick with Jutkiewicz and Hogan leading the line for this one?
No, I think this match is probably tailor-made for Deeney. Obviously, Hogan and Jutkiewicz have been playing alongside with Chong behind him this season, and it's worked well for him. But obviously, with these, I think the 6 championship games between now and the next international breaks, I think at some point you do have to freshen it up. And Deeney's proven it. He's match fit. He's played a few times for Watford already this season, and I just think Deeney going up against someone like Tosin at Fulham, who's a very talented centre back, but Deeney could use his experience to get the better of him and feed Hogan, who's started the season pretty well, and he's almost getting into his old Brentford form, which saw him secure a move to Villa a few years ago. So I think I would throw Deeney in for this match. It'll give the fans a real lift to see him on the pitch from the get-go, and I think they could stick it to Fulham, who have obviously had a poor result on Saturday, which we'll probably talk about in a minute. And they'll be under a bit of pressure to try and get that win to take them back to the top of the table. So I think Deeney can throw a bit of a spanner in the works if he starts, which if I was Lee Bowyer, I would be giving him that chance.
Obviously, we mentioned Fulham just then, a really surprise defeat to Blackpool last time out. I don't think many people would have seen that result come in. Marcus, obviously Fulham, many tipping them to be promotion contenders at the end of the season. Do you reckon they've got enough to bounce back tonight? And do you reckon that that Blackpool defeat would have given them a bit of a rude awakening almost?
Yeah, I think so. A lot to work on after that. Although they probably had the better of the game, they weren't as dominant as they have been in other matches this season. Maybe Lee Bowyer will take a leaf out of Neil Critchley's book and maybe want to sit back a little bit more than they usually do. But I'm not sure whether he will do that. The Fulham squad is still very intimidating for any Championship opposition. As quickly as the fixtures do come, Fulham will definitely be one of the sides that are able to cope with that and not suffer a loss in quality. I think Naskins Cabano should probably come in tonight. Has been a good performer for them in crunch moments in the Championship in years gone by. I think he could add quite a lot on the wing tonight, and I do expect them to bounce back after, a bit of a bump in the road on Saturday, but nothing more than that for me.
What we're saying then, Ben, do you reckon it's another Birmingham St Andrews win, or do you reckon Fulham will bounce back tonight? What's your prediction for this one?
I'm going down the middle of a draw. I think both teams have got a lot of quality in it. I think if Fulham get Fabio Carvalho back tonight, I think he's 50-50 to play. I think he could be a bit of a difference maker, but I think both teams had a good start to the season. I think they could cancel each other out of a 1-1.
Okay, I'll probably go with I don't want to sit on the fence too much, but I think another draw's on the cards here. I think Birmingham a bit of a different footballing team to Fulham. I might go with a 2-2. I'll go with an adventurous 2-2 at St Andrews. Marcus, what are you going to go with for this one?
Yeah, that's pretty exciting too. I think that'll be a good one. I've gone for 2-0 Fulham. I just think they have too much quality. I think over the 90 minutes, I think they'll have too much, even people coming off the bench to contribute. So yeah, 2-0 Fulham.
And we've got just to round up on the Fulham, we've got Matt House on YouTube. Thank you for the comment, Matt. Fabio Carvalho to win Young Player of the Year. Probably not a controversial shout given the way he started the season. I mean, I think he's out of contract at the end of this season as well. So Ben, how much of a necessity is it for them to get his contract situation sorted? Because we've seen a lot of big clubs already looking at him. What's your thoughts on him?
I think it's going to be very difficult to time down to a new deal of the kind of clubs that we've heard, like Real Madrid and Barcelona are both apparently watching him. So it's going to be very tough when a young player's head could be turned like that. But if he's thinking about first team football and first team football only, I think he could show a bit of loyalty here and become a bit of an icon at such a young age at the club. He's already scored 3 goals this season. Seems to be very much in Marco Silva's plans, and that position for Fulham as well, that attacking midfield area is stacked. They've got Wilson, Cavallero, Reed. They've got so many options, and he's kind of took it by the scruff of the neck and started performing. So I think it's very important to try and get that contract signed. Whether it does get over the line remains to be seen. But I think English football fans will be hoping it stays in this country for sure, because he looks a very exciting talent.
Yes, we'll see what happens with Carvalho, and we'll see what happens in that game tonight as well. Let's go on to our next match. Yes, Stoke City host Barnsley at the Bet365 Stadium this evening. A win could potentially see Stoke go top if results go their way. 4 wins from 6 so far. Marcus, just coming to you. Firstly, how impressive have you been with Stoke's start, and do you expect them to be winning the playoff hunt this season?
Definitely. I think we've seen in glimpses over the last few seasons that Stoke are able to put these kind of runs together, and maybe haven't been able to back it up on a longer term basis to actually go on and make an assault on the top 6. I think they definitely are top 6 fodder this season. Automatic promotion is another question. I don't really think. Maybe they've got the depth for that. Obviously, we've got Tyrese Campbell to come back in, which hopefully will give them a lift. I do see them as playoff contenders. Obviously, had a great home record, winning all 3 games at home before the Barnsley match, of course, tonight. So, Michael O'Neill will be feeling confident. Of course, they got that win over Huddersfield on Saturday. So, a win here obviously could take them to the top of the table, I think, depending on the Fulham result. So, should be a good match. And I think Stoke, definitely top 6 contenders this season.
Do you reckon they'll have too much for Barnsley, Ben? I mean, Barnsley haven't won in the last 4. Obviously, came undone against a really decent Bournemouth team at the weekend. Do you reckon this is another tough ask for them to get anything out of this game tonight?
Yeah, I think so. I don't really think they've kind of clicked on the shop so far. I think that they were 2-0 up against QPR last month, and I think that QPR coming back into that game and drawing might have had a bit of an adverse effect. I think the transfer business on the whole this summer is pretty underwhelming, considering they finished in the playoffs. I don't think they really built on what they had last season. I think obviously losing Ismail and Dane Murphy went to Nottingham Forest, that's a big reshuffle off the pitch as well. I think they could struggle again here. Stoke, like Marcus said, got a very strong squad, done some really good business over the summer. And I think it's now obvious at Barnsley that it was kind of the Ismail effect that was getting the best out of him. And I'm predicting a comfortable Stoke win here, 3-1 for them.
3-1. I'll go over 2-0. Marcus, what are you saying for this one? I'm predicting a home win, I imagine, but what are you going to go with?
I'm mixing it up, actually. I think the win over Huddersfield was a little bit lucky. I think the goal from a set piece and a bizarre Matty Pearson own goal, and all three of their home wins this season have actually been by one goal. So I think maybe they're in a little bit of a false position as close to that top two as they are. So I've actually gone for 2-2. I think Barnsley maybe getting some inspiration off last season mid-match and turning it around 2-2.
That's a good prediction. I'm open for debate on there. And as I said, if anyone wants to comment for any comments, any fans from any club, then please do so on Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube. Right then, next game. Well, it's certainly been a case of home sweet home for Coventry City this season. They've won 4 wins from picked up 4 wins from the first 6 games, and also they've won every single one of the games at home. They host Cardiff City tonight. Ben, coming to you here, again, similar to Stoke, how impressive you've been with Coventry's start of the season, and do you reckon there could be dark horses for a top 6 finish this season?
Potentially, yeah. I mean, they were the only promoted club from last season from League One who stayed up. Obviously, Rotherham and Wycombe went down, so it was a solid enough first season back in the Championship, and they've definitely built on it and made some smart additions this summer. I was a bit cautious going into the international break that they might have had a bit of an easier run on paper than other teams, and I think the Borough game was a bit of a sign, beating them 2-0, that maybe they are very serious, top half, potentially playoff contenders. I think the top 6 might be a bit of an ask. I think they're much more likely to finish mid-tail, but you can't fault them for what they've done so far this season. I think this will be their biggest test at home so far. Obviously, we know what you're going to get with Cardiff, a very direct team. McCarthy will try and probably play for set pieces, but if they do come out on top tonight, I think you've got to take them really seriously in that hunt for the top 6.
Matt, with no comment, says, I just can't see Coventry losing at home at the CBS right now. Their fans are electric there at the minute. Completely agree. I was their first game of the season. It was electric. Marcus, they've waited so long, Coventry fans, not just to return to games, but return to their home ground. Obviously, once called the Rico, now the CBS Arena. Did you expect them to start the season that well and have that, use that bit of momentum to full effect?
I wasn't sure, to be honest. I mean, obviously they did so well at St Andrews, which came as a bit of a surprise considering just the horrible circumstances for the fans. So no, I didn't see this coming. Forest on the first game of the season was probably a harder match than we think back to looking at it now. So no, I didn't expect this really outstanding home form at the start of the season. Obviously they were strong at the back end of last season as well, sort of pulling away from the relegation battle towards the end of the season. But yeah, they've exceeded my expectations so far. Obviously, Vicar Gyökeres has been outstanding up front, and Callum O'Hare taking the headlines as he loves to with his highlight reel skills and things like that. So yeah, they've got a great chance against Cardiff tonight. I agree with Ben. I do think this kind of is a big match where we can judge their credentials for the top 6. I think a lot of people think that Cardiff should be in and around it. And yeah, we'll see how Coventry deal with the Aidan Flint and Sean Morrison. The aerial bombardment that they could be a really interesting test for Mark Robins' men. So, it's going to be a really interesting match, and we'll definitely see what Coventry are made of tonight.
I mean, I saw Cardiff at the weekend. They returned to winning ways against Forest. Obviously, Ruben Colwill was the absolute hero that day. Came on and scored literally seconds after he got introduced, and then scored the winning goal 10 minutes later. I mean, Ben, would you start him tonight after such a good impact from the bench?
I think it's a no-brainer, really, when he's done something like that. I think McCarthy didn't really bring any attacking midfield competition in for Bacuna and Giles, who I assume when he came in, Giles, that he'd be playing as a left wing back, as he did for Coventry and Rotherham, but he's played a bit further forward this season, and I think Bacuna's not really endeared himself to the fans of his performances so far. So I think Colwill, he's no Harry Wilson at his stage of his career. He was very effective from last season, but at such a young age, he's making a mark, and what he did against Forest was pretty impressive. His second goal, the way he took it, was of a player that looked like he had a lot of experience. So I think he's already proven to be a threat at such a young age, and I think he's got to be in contention to start tonight, and he could capitalise on that good performance on Sunday.
Very interesting game ahead. Marcus, what are you going with prediction-wise?
I'm going for a 1-1 tonight. I think Coventry can keep their unbeaten home record, but I don't think they're going to make it 4 wins from 4 at home. I think, Cardiff are going to be strong and always tough against one of Mick McCarthy's sides.
Yeah, Ben?
I think we've had a few 2-2s already today, haven't we? I'm going for another 2-2. I think Cardiff will bombard them with set piece. I think they'll score at least one from a set piece, but also I think Coventry have looked pretty dangerous going forward as well. So I could see it being a few goals this evening at the CBS.
Yeah, I'm going to go with it. I'm going to go with 2-1 away win. I just think Cardiff, I was quite impressed with them second half against Forest, and I just think they'll pick up from where they left off tonight. Right, let's go on to the penultimate game. Barry Ennis has timed his comment superbly well. Fancy Bristol City to get their first home win since January. The Pearson effect now taking shape. Obviously, Bristol City tonight host Luton Town at Ashton Gate. They've yet to, as Barry said, yet to win at home. Marcus, can you see that changing tonight?
I do. I agree. I think they win this one. Luton have got a lot of injuries at the moment. Obviously, it got that momentum from Luke Berry's 98th minute equaliser at the weekend. But I think Bristol City have been showing positive signs at home, even without the results. I think it was a 0-0 draw against Preston at the weekend, which, Nigel Pearson was saying that if they finish their chances, they might have got all 3 points there. So I think they might be able to make up for that tonight. And I think Luton, they were maybe a little bit fortunate to get that draw at Blackburn. I completely agree. I think this is the night for Bristol City. Yeah,
I mean, fantastic impact, Ben, from Luke Berry against Blackburn. A brace in quick succession to earn a point at Blackburn at Ewood Park. Just how important, that was his first appearance of the season. How important can he be to Luton Town this season? He's been there since, League 2 days. How key do you reckon he could be this season for the Hatters?
Well, I think he's going to make impacts like that. Then he's going to be very important. And now there's a void that's coming to that team with Alan Campbell being ruled out for a little bit of ankle ligament damage. I think he could potentially slot right in there. I don't know if he'll start tonight, because obviously that was his first appearance of the season at Blackburn. So he might need to build his fitness up a little bit more. But he's definitely a goal scoring threat from midfield, and he's been like that for the last few years through the leagues. He didn't really start a lot last season. In the second half of the season, I think Jones was rotating his options, but he's definitely got to come under consideration now. Provides a goal threat from outside the box and inside. And my prediction means he won't be scoring tonight. I think Bristol City might get a narrow 1-0 win. I didn't see too much from him on Saturday against Preston that Nigel Pearson suggested that they probably should have got all 3 points. I think I disagree with that. I think Preston had the better chances. Reece blowing one over the bar from 6 yards. But they've definitely got some. I think they need to kind of share the load around. I think Andreas Weiman's had a good start to the season, but now Chris Martin and Naki Wells need to kind of pick up their efforts and find the back of the net to help them out a little bit. And I can see Bristol City coming out as narrow 1-0 winners.
Don't disagree with Pearson. Ben will call you an ostrich sooner rather than later. Marcus, do you agree with Ben's prediction there? Do you reckon Bristol City will return to winning ways at Ashton Gate today?
I do, yeah. Not going to go 1-0, just going to go 2-1. A little bit more goals. Yeah, I think Pearson will really want to be getting this one out of the way. I'm sure it will be a good atmosphere. They all seem to be behind him at the moment. So, I think Bristol City by a 1-goal margin. I'm going 2-1.
Lovely stuff. I'll go over 1-0 as well. Let's get into our final game in the evening. Two sides really struggling to get into second gear. They struggled in the early parts of this season. It's Swansea against Millwall. Both have 1 win from 6 games, but potentially, Marcus, going into this one, Millwall can take great confidence from that 1-1 draw at West Brom last weekend, can't they?
Yeah, I think they've had a difficult start, really, Millwall. They got a good draw away at QPR and have been picking up points, just a 1 win, of course. But I do think tonight they're going to be able to sort of get another 3 points into their tally. I think Swansea have been showing signs. I think Russell Martin was keen to point out that they've had the most successful passes into the final third of any team in the division. It hasn't really been returning the points as yet, which he's confident that it will do in the long run. But I think Millwall might just be too strong for them tonight. Jed Wallace is on fire, as he seems to always be in the Championship, and I think he could be the difference tonight. Just a player that's got a proven track record of creating goals and scoring them in this league, and maybe something that Swansea don't quite have at the moment.
I mean, Ben, you would have watched Swansea when they beat Preston 3-1 the other week. They've struggled for goals this season. I think they've only scored 4 in 6 games. Did you see, what was your assessment of them in that day? And, how do you think they'll get on tonight against Millwall?
Well, I think it was clear that the style of play that Russell Martin's implementing, it's going to take a lot of getting used to for that squad. They were very effective under Steve Cooper, where they could kind of mix it up a little bit. They could go direct at some point. He could play it on the floor. But I think Martin's very, not one-dimensional. He knows what he wants from his players. He wants it to be on the floor at all times. And I saw early on in the match there was some positive signs. Piero got an early goal and he seemed to be knocking it out pretty well. But after that first goal, obviously, North End got an immediate equaliser. And then after that, I think it was pretty dominant from PNE. They still kept passing it around the back, even though North End were high-pressing him. And they kept making a lot of mistakes. I don't know if Millwall will do the same in terms of high pressing. I think Gary Rowett's kind of tactics away from home suggest that he's happy to soak up kind of any possession or pressure and hit them on the counter-attack. They've got obviously Jed Wallace and Shea Ojo, two very effective attacking midfielders at this level. I think Swansea adding of Olivier Ntcham from Celtic and also Obafemi from Southampton's are two very direct players who will create a lot of more attacking spark. And I think they need Obafemi to kind of hit the ground running. Obviously, he came off the bench on Saturday. And I think he could be in line for a start tonight. And I think he's perhaps what's needed up front to bring a bit more power and pace to the team. But for some reason, I can just see Millwall. It was a good result at West Brom, and I can just see them sneaking maybe a 2-1 from another set piece. You've got Cooper and Ballard are both big threats from those set pieces, and I can just see them sneaking a little win, and there'll be a lot of unhappy Swansea fans probably if that happens. Not had a great start to the season, but I think Russell Martin just needs a little bit more time to implement his style on the squad.
I mean, Marcus, how do you see this one going tonight then?
Yeah, I completely agree with Ben. I think Rowett will be happy to just sit in and watch them pass the ball sideways in front of them. Swansea, of course, going to be having a lot of possession probably, and Mill will be absolutely fine with that. And the counter-attack is where they could hurt them. Wallace, of course, and Shea Ojo, as Ben mentioned, of course. So, yeah, I think Millwall to edge it. I really like their back three. Jake Cooper, Murray Wallace, Dan Ballard have all started the season really well. I think if they can keep it tight, then later on in the match, they might be able to hit them on the counter, maybe even from set piece. So, yeah, I'm going 1-0 Millwall. Very
interesting. I'm going to go with a 1-0 Millwall as well. I don't mean to copy again, but I just think that I think Millwall, I was impressed with the way they dug in at West Brom at the weekend. So I just think they've got enough to win the game tonight. Well, that wraps up our Wednesday night preview. As always, make sure to subscribe to FLW TV on YouTube tomorrow morning. Even we're going to look back at these fixtures from tonight and as well the ones from last night as well. We've got the London show. I'm also going to look at a specific game for the weekend. So as I said, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. Thank you for your likes and comments, and take care.